everybody, now before I go running into this shot screaming Elbaph at the top of my lungs while brandishing a fake foam weapon, I just want to say this time, I really appreciate everybody, and it's great to be back. Here we are! Elbaph! Woo! Yeah! You know what? One's not good enough. Let's do it again, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring that fire this time. Here we go. I want you to say it with me. I want you to scream it from the rooftops. Elbaph! Yeah! All right, I'm going to take the very heavy helmet off now. Oh, man. Okay. Got a little bit of different lighting set up. This is a very colorful chapter, all right? We're going on Rainbow Road, baby. All right, okay. Hey, everybody, Techie 101 here. This will be One Piece chapter 1132 review, Adventure in the Land of, well, I gotta say it again, I guess, Elbaph! Okay. You know, it's really crazy that Oda's actually just saying adventure in Elbaph, because usually when we start a story arc, it's like, you know, with Wano, it wasn't adventure in the land of Wano, it was adventure in the land of samurai. With Dressrosa, it was adventure in the land of passion, love, and toys. You know, here, it's just straight up like, no, we're in Elbaph, which is, I think, fair that Oda did that, because he's like, all right, look, everybody, I know I've been screwing you around a little bit with this over the last, you know, few months and stuff. Like, are we going to Elbaph? Are we in Elbaph? Well, kinda, but not really, but yes. So it's just straight up, you know, no question about it, we are in Elbaph. Okay, so we continue on with Oni Child Yamato's Golden Inari Shrine Pilgrimage. This will be chapter 19. Yamato, as well as Speed and Tama, have reached the Udon region, all right? So for those of you tracking the geography quest of Yamato at home, this is the journey. This is what the journey looks like. Starting from the Flower Capital, starting at Kibi, where Denjiro is the new daimyo, looping down through the Kuri region, where Inuarashi is the new daimyo, and now chasing after the thief of Yasuie's swords, clear into the Udon region, all right? So we're almost done. I mean, like, the trip around Wano is, like, all we got is the Hakumai region, and then after that we have the Ringo region, and that's basically it. Keep in mind on this map, Onigashima has been moved. It is currently now outside of the Flower Capital somewhere. No, they dumped it in the ocean, actually. They just picked it up, and I guess Momonosuke picked it up and dumped it into the ocean somewhere, right? Well, anyway, we see the Udon prison, where Luffy and Kid and everybody Caribou was trapped for a time. This was also the place where they dumped, like, King and Queen and Jack. Like, if you were wondering what happened to them after the battle, they just threw them in the prison. Well, it's being under construction. They're building a new castle, because I'm assuming the old Udon castle was destroyed. I'm thinking Nekomamushi is the new daimyo of Udon. The only reason I say that is because Inuarashi is right next door at the Kuri region. I think that would make sense if Inuarashi is right there and then Nekomamushi is his next door neighbor, and they get into arguments every now and then. Not as bad as they used to, but every once in a while they bicker about things, you know, like, yeah. So, yeah, that'd be funny. So they're building the castle right outside the prison, or maybe it's in the prison, I'm not really sure. A big question, like, what happened with King and Queen and Jack and the rest of the Tobiropo? Like, Drake got away, he's at the hospital right now, but where are the rest of them at? Maybe one of them is like, a lot of people are saying it might have been Ulti or Page One, that was the one kidnapping everybody and that stole the sword. It's possible that they, you know, could have done that. I mean, if nothing else, they have a huge lead on Yamato and, you know, the Komachio and everybody like that, and Speed is really fast, her name is Speed, so they're at least able to get a good distance on them. So yeah, that's what up with that, and we don't see anything else really going on here in Wano. Okay. Somehow, and I don't know how exactly, even after reading this, I mean, I do know how, but still, somehow, Oda was able to take all of these groups that were separated and managed to get them all to meet each other by the end of this chapter. That is some expert level dungeon mastering when your party gets separated. You gotta, it's like, all right, so Luffy jumped down into the Underworld to go see Loki. Yeah, all right, that's something that Luffy would do. All right, some of the Straw Hats are on the Great Eric. They're outside of Elbaph, arriving there. Okay, and we have Sanji and Zoro's group that got separated from Luffy on top of the bridge, so they're off somewhere else. I can figure out some way to, you know, get you all together again to get the party reunited. And by George, Oda's done it, ladies and gentlemen. So we open up outside of Elbaph. We see the same pub that Shanks stopped by for a drink. This is the place that, you know, all of the subordinate crews that were under the Red Hair Pirates were gathering. This is where Kid attacked originally. Of course, all of those pirate crews have cleared off by that point. Shanks left a little while ago. So we do see the Kid, the giant kid that was asking Shanks to go with him. We saw him, his name is Colin. We see it right here. Or maybe it's Colin. His name is Colin. Everybody in Elbaph, the new generation, are named after organs. Yes, he has a brother named Liver. You know, but anyway, no, his name is Colin, and he wanted Shanks to, like, oh, Shanks, let me go on your crew. Kind of the same thing that Luffy did when he was a little kid. I'm sure this happens a lot, you know. Shanks is this swashbuckling pirate. He walks into town, everybody loves him, and everybody wants to go travel with him and have an epic adventure. Hey, if Shanks walked into your place of business, wouldn't you immediately be like, oh, please, take me with you? It's pretty dangerous in the Grand Line. No, seriously, take me with you for a magical pirate adventure, please. You know, I don't want to work in accounting anymore, Shanks. Please take me with you. You think I would take an accountant like you? We already have an accountant. His name's Rockstar. That's in my headcanon. Rockstar is now the accountant of the Red-Haired Pirates. But no, anyway, you know, Shanks is like, sorry, kid, I'm all out of straw hats. I can't give straw hats out to every single snot-nosed kid that wants to go on a journey with me. So he turned him down. His mother, who I can assume is his mother, also is working at the bar. She's like the bartender lady. We see her in that episode as well. Anyway, he goes out and he sees the Great Eric. So this is Dory and Broggy, the captains of the giant warrior pirates. They're national heroes, are returning to Elbaph, and so he's like, hey, captains, are you gonna stop by for a drink, please? I feel bad for this kid to an extent, because this kid really is setting himself up like a protagonist in another manga altogether, right? He's living in a tiny little, like, this is apparently it. I mean, I guess he lives up in the Sun Village. We're gonna get to what that even means in a second. But this is a little pub on the side of the island. It's technically, I guess, in the Underworld, but it's on, like, the outskirts, so it's not blanketed in snow and destitution and stuff. It's a rather sunny little thing. I guess as long as you stay on the actual seashore of Elbaph, everything is kind of okay. You start going a little bit deeper across the mountains of doom, you know, that's when shit starts getting bad. So we find out he lives up in the village, in the tree, in Adam, in Yggdrasil, but has to come down here because I guess his mom works at the bar, maybe she runs the pub, kind of like a Makino type situation. And, you know, when giants are returning from raiding, you know, going a Viking and stuff like that, they stop at this little pub for some drinks. So he's like, yeah, Dory and Broggy, come on over. And then you just see Broggy doesn't even say anything. He just leans out the side of the Great Eric and is just like, no, sorry, we're not going to be stopping. And then Colin's a little upset. He's just like, aw, they're not going to stop at the pub, Mom. And, you know, his mom is just like, well, you know, they do have guests, so I guess it would make sense for them just to go straight up to the village after all. But don't worry, you should head up to the Sun Realm as well, son. I'm pretty sure they're, because she mentions Colin's father, so I'm assuming they're like a family and stuff. So she takes a little basket and hands it to Colin and says, here, this is Ripley's favorite. This is Ripley's delivery. We do not know who Ripley is, so until we find out otherwise, I'm just going to say it's Ripley from Alien. So there you go, that's pretty badass. Somewhere on Elbaph is Sigourney Weaver. I'm okay with that. That's also headcanon, right? And also mentions, hey, your dad's favorite food is in there too. Okay, so Colin is going to, you know, have his own little adventure that we are probably not going to follow, where he's going to manage to get up to the Sun Village, and he might be relevant. He might join the group of like the junior Straw Hats, the little kids that pal around with the Straw Hats for an entire arc. So like Tama and Momonosuke and Isa and who else? I'm assuming Apis. Remember Apis from the Warship Island arc? Yeah. Yeah, Apis could talk to animals, Colin. What can you do, Colin? Anyway, so he's like, cool, yeah, great. Well, I heard that the pirates that Dory and Broggy are going to bring back with them, they're a Yonko, just like Shanks. In fact, Shanks talked all about him. And so we get a little bit of a flashback, and I see what Shanks was doing. Dude, if Shanks never shows up through the rest of Elbaph, I think he's going to. But I understand why maybe Shanks stopped by, or one of the reasons he stopped by. He knew that Luffy was going to reach Elbaph relatively soon, and so he was basically his hype man. That's essentially what Shanks was doing. Shanks was getting drunk at this pub and being like, hey kid, let me tell you a name you better not soon forget. Look. Straw Hat Luffy. Straw Hat Luffy? Straw Hat Luffy. Let me tell you something, kid. The Straw Hat Luffy kid, he's gonna go straight to the top. He's gonna find the One Piece. He's gonna be phenomenal. He's a Yonko. He's the same rank as me, man. He's awesome. You better pay attention. You better remember that name, right? So Shanks was given a little bit of hype to, Luffy and everything. I see what you're doing there, Shanks. That's cool. That's cool. So Colin heads out. He grabs a little picnic basket and a little stick, and he hops out of the pub, and he's just like, I'm on my way to have a grand adventure. This is gonna be relevant, actually. This might not be off-screened, actually. Maybe Colin will run into the mysterious, shadowy figure that we saw at the beginning of the arc. Yeah, it's possible. If anything, I think Colin's gonna, he is gonna be in that role that, like, Tama and Momo were in during Wano, or, like, Isa during Skypiea. In all seriousness, I think he is. We also have Hyruden and Stanson. See, when you're talking like Stanson, you gotta talk like this, because I assume that's how Stanson talks. It's like, anyway, so they are also in their ship, which also does have a name. I'll put it down here, because it's one of those names I'm not, even if I looked it up, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce it correctly. So this was the name of Hyruden's ship, of the new giant pirates, right? So they're on their ship, having left the Underworld after they killed that giant moose dinosaur, as seen in Strong World. And they're also sailing kind of on the perimeter of Elbaph, about to reach the same destination the Great Eric is, okay? So we see, and understand, the scale of Elbaph is so gargantuan, so Herculean, that we're never really going to see it in its full scope other than when we zoom out a crazy far distance like we did already. Like when we saw the island in full view, that was like several miles / kilometers away that we had to back up to get the full view of that. So here, we're just seeing like the right side of the island. So we see the part that has the giant sword impaling into it. And then we have a giant rainbow that's coming off of the side of the tree. And all of the Straw Hats on the Great Eric, so Brooke and Robin and Frankie and Jinbei and everybody are like, whoa, it's a rainbow. It's so clear. Wow, that is like a cartoonish rainbow. That is like a rainbow that you would see coming out of a bowl of Lucky Charms. Like, that is like a very vivid rainbow. Bonnie has her eyes sparkling like, yeah, that's an awesome rainbow. Lilith has seen it before because Lilith is Vegapunk, and so therefore, has the same memories. Vegapunk has been to Elbaph before. By the way, just a little update on everything. I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but I'm just letting everybody know. Vegapunk's rotting corpse is still on the Great Eric. Like, the Stella is down in the hold. It's been a few days. It's probably stinking up the place right now. I'm just throwing that out there. It's like, wow, it's so happy and whimsical and wonderful. Vegapunk's body is, they didn't have a burial at sea or anything. It's still there as far as we know. All right, just throw that out there. Just throw that out there. Okay, so the shot's like, wow, this is a unique rainbow. This is unlike any other rainbow we've seen before. And we've been on the Grand Line for a while, right? So Broggy pulls out this, like, stone. It's like a clear cube. A cube that is clear. You can kind of look through it. And he's like, yeah, isn't it a kind of special looking rainbow? Check it out. It was drawn with this painter. He calls it a painter. All right, this is in reference to the thing that Stanson said in the last chapter when they killed the moose. They were like, the painter and the sunstone don't work when there's no sun, when it's all snowing like this, right? So they had to carry the moose itself back to their ship, right? So Jinbei is like, that's who Broggy is saying this to. He's like, oh, hey, check it out, Jinbei. It was made with this thing. And Jinbei's like, painted? What are you talking about? It made a rainbow? And he's like, that's right. And that's all the explanation we really get from this. But do not worry, do not worry. I was a little bit confuzzled because in the last chapter there was various translations, and I knew it had something to do with painting and it had something to do with sunstone, but I didn't really understand what the context was. Now that we actually see what this thing is, it makes way more sense for me. I clicked on a pop-up ad by accident. No, I don't want to purchase a 3D printer. Yeah, I was thinking about getting a 3D printer for a while. Does anybody have a 3D printer? Yeah, they're cool, right? I mean, they're neat. One of my friends has one that they use to make anime figurines, right? And they showed me their setup, and it's like in their basement, and it's a giant like 3D printer. Like they have to have like a fume hood over it, and they had to like install a ventilation thing through their like window in order to like vent everything outside. And I'm looking at the setup, and it's a really cool setup, but I'm like, oh man, I don't know, this is a lot to you know, set up if I had one. And I don't really think, like, I'd be cool, like I could make stuff for the channel, like little like figurines and like items and props and stuff for, you know, maybe something for Barry, like a little crown for Barry. Maybe I could do that with 3D printer, but I don't know, maybe I'll get one day, but not today. All right, so on to the explanation of what this is. Okay, so anybody that knows a little bit about history, or maybe geology, or third option, has read volume 17 of Dr. Stone, knows what a sunstone is. A sunstone is calcite. All right, it's calcite. It looks like this. This looks very similar to what Bragi is holding in the chapter. So what Vikings would use this for would basically be for maritime navigation, because you can kind of look through the calcite in a certain way, and even if it's like cloudy out, you can kind of pinpoint where the sun is. And if you could figure out where the sun is in the sky, even on a cloudy day, that's very important to figure out, you know, to like your general bearings and stuff like that. Now, take that through the mystical wonderland that is manga and a bunch of creative license, and you have a magic stone that can draw things. And that's what this is, and it makes sense, because if calcite, if the sunstone was something that like, kind of, it's like a prism, and it can like refract light. So if it refracts light, Oda just takes that concept and is like, oh, cool. So it sucks in light from the sun, and then you can use that to draw physical things that you can interact with. A painter. That was probably what Stanson was talking about earlier, like, oh, it maybe needs light to charge it, or something like that, or the sun needs to be down directly, and that's how you can kind of paint things with it, right? Also going along with the idea that the giants of Elbaph worship a sun god. There you go. It's not just like a sun god whatever, it's probably like they think that these calcite stones, or the sunstones as they call them, are gifts from the sun god Nika himself, okay? And it's like, ah yes, his grace, the sun god, has given us these magic sunstones that allow us to draw magical rainbows that we can sail and surf in the sky. Are there rainbow surfers on Elbaph? There probably are. Dory takes out a surfboard, he's like, I'll catch you guys on the flip. Rainbow Road queues up. Here we go. Yeah. Oh man, guys, so awesome. So they're like, all right, everybody, every small person on the ship should probably grab onto a giant, because we're about to go vertical. We're about to go straight up. All the Strats are like, wait, what? Huh? How you went? Whoa! And they just go straight up the Rainbow Bridge. You know, right up the Bifrost, as it were. Okay. So, as they're ascending at a seemingly rapid pace, the giants are explaining, like, alright, Elbaph Village is located on the tree, we gotta use the rainbow to get up there, and then we're gonna have a giant banquet. And the Lestrades are like, okay, I guess. This is so weird, you know? Bonnie is the one that brings up, wait a minute, that's not how rainbows work. Rainbows are just refracted light. And Dory and Bragi are like, refracted light? What the kind of shit is that, kid? Oh, all right, you're a little kid, so I understand. You don't understand what real rainbows are made out of. Real rainbows are made of magic, hopes, dreams, and imagination. They're the ones you can kind of sail on. Those are real rainbows. I just love the juxtapositioning. It's Bonnie who's the child, that her abilities are all focused on, like, you know, imagining a different future for herself and the powers of imagination. She's the one that says, wait a minute, a rainbow is just refracted on light, on water droplets. This isn't a real rainbow. And the giants, Dory and Broggy, are the ones like, what are you talking about? You know, so that's really funny. We get an awesome double-page spread of the Great Eric and Hyruden's ship sailing on the Rainbow Bridge. Actually, now that I'm getting a better look at it, I don't think it's the same ship. Hyruden's has a very specific figurehead on it. This one seems like a smaller, like, dinghy that they just use to go hunting really quick and then go back. So their ship might be somewhere else. All right, it literally means like toenails or fingernails or something. It ties back to Norse mythology. It's a long story, right? We're riding on a rainbow now, all right? This is important, okay? Jinbei has a great line where he says, man, if Luffy sees this, I bet he would go crazy. Dude, we all know exactly how Luffy would respond to this. Luffy would have the stunned eyes, but then as soon as somebody tried to explain this to him, Luffy would be like, wow, we're riding on a mysterious rainbow bridge. And that's honestly, Luffy, about as accurate as it could be at this point. You're riding on a magical rainbow Bifrost Bridge. Let's just enjoy this. I cannot wait until this gets animated. Bonnie even mentions it makes noise. It makes cute little, like, twinkling noise. You know, like, I don't know, like you get a power-up in a Mario game and it's like, it's making that noise right now. I want to go on this as a ride. I don't know, where's the Magic Rainbow Bridge? Sweden? I'm imagining it's in Sweden. All right, everybody, we're doing a field trip to Sweden. I'll book the tickets. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there in like an hour. All right, everybody, we're meeting in Sweden. We're meeting in Sweden. If anybody else clicks on the video and is wondering where I'm at, just say we're in Sweden, all right? Let's go. Come on. Got stuff to do. Hey, guys, where's Tekking at? He's in Sweden. Like, we're going to Sweden. Come on. All right. So, they're traveling up the Rainbow Bridge here. Dory and Broggy, they see Stanson and they see Hyruden. They're like, oh, hey, Hyruden, Stanson, how you doing, man? And like, oh, Dory and Broggy, it's good that we caught you. Man, that was perfect timing. We ended up on the Magic Rainbow Bridge at the same time. That's pretty cool. Frankie strikes an awesome pose because Frankie has met Hyruden before because Frankie was part of the Dressrosa group. So it was like, oh, hey, Iron Man, I remember you. How the hell have you been? It's like, I've been good, right? So Hyruden and Stanson mentioned that we caught a moose and we're going to have it for the banquet. It's going to be for the Straw. It's our heroes. It's going to be great. And it's like, awesome, right? None of the Straw Hats mention Stanson, which is fair. Well, no. Okay, Frankie, no, they all would, except for Jinbei. Frankie, Brooke, and Robin would have all have met Stanson before. I mean, they didn't really... They met Stanson at Sabaody, but it was really just, like, in passing, really. Like, he, you know, showed up outside of the auction house with Rayleigh, and then at the end he was like, Straw Hats, thanks for helping me. I'll always remember this or whatever. And keep in mind, Stanson looked very different back then. He didn't have his beard or his mustache. He just had, like, some 5 o'clock shadow. His hair really hadn't grown out that much. You know, he wasn't even wearing a shirt back then. He looks very different right now. In fact, if you just showed me a picture of Stanson next to his pre-time skip, I wouldn't recognize him, really, right? It even took me a while to realize that was the same giant, right? So, yeah, it's just like, yeah, they don't really bring that up, but it's fine. So, they're heading up to the Sun Village. Now, cutting back down to the Underworld, the Underland. They cut down there, and Gerd and Goldberg are still running across the bridge. Luffy, I'm assuming Gumu Gumu no rockets his way back up from the Underworld. So we do not see Loki in this chapter other than a flashback. Okay, we see him there, like Luffy's kind of thinking about something, but yeah, Luffy just had his conversation with Loki and immediately rocketed himself back up to the surface. So he lands on the bridge. He sees Goldberg running with the Sunny. It's like, hey, that's our ship. Put it down. That's ours. You know? And so Gerd immediately goes up and like grabs Luffy, and she's like, oh my god, you're Luffy. Oh my god, I've heard so many things about you. Wow, you're so cute. You know, like, I love little humans. I mean, like, I'm not like Road. I'm not weird like Road, but I really love humans. So I'm like, oh boy, this is really funny in a number of different ways, you know? I can't tell, but I'm assuming the way this goes is, you know, giants are huge, and the different ways that they would view humans, like, Road would view them as more of like objects, like figurines to put in his diorama, you know, city and stuff. Gerd seems to be viewing them more as like how we would view like pets, like the way we would hold like a little, like a kitten or something, like, oh, look at the baby kitten, you know, like that's kind of how Gerd is viewing humans. Goldberg is just in the background, not really, you know, he's just there holding the Sunny, right? But Gerd is the one that's just like, oh, don't worry, I'm not like Road. I won't put you in cages or anything like that. I don't know, Gerd is even kind of giving me like slightly creepy vibes from this conversation, you know, but she's fine. It's just like the different perspectives on how giants view humans. That's going to probably be a running theme throughout this arc, right? Goldberg is like, hey, Gerd, I don't know if we should be talking about that right now. We got to get moving, right? And so Gerd is like, right, so Road captured you all and brought you here by force and put you in that stupid Lego city, right? Yeah, he's a weirdo. I wish I didn't know that guy. Anyway, stick with us. I'm your friend. Just like, okay. Coming on a little strong there, Gerd. I'm like, okay. So, Goldberg asks Luffy, like, hey, you just came up from the Underworld just now. I'm not really sure if you know what that even is, but are you okay? Did you see something down there that scared you? And Luffy just immediately strikes a very nervous, like, look on his face, like, did I say too much kind of thing, right? Because he flashes back to Loki, and Loki says, ha ha ha, and another thing. Don't tell anybody about our meeting or our promise, Straw Hats. Are you sure? Yeah, okay. Luffy. He even calls him by his name, Luffy. He doesn't mess it up this time, right? He's like, hey, we made a deal. Don't tell anyone about it, all right? And then we can assume Luffy immediately rocketed himself back up. So, we don't know the whole nature of the deal, but it involved Loki telling Luffy about Shanks, something about Shanks. Not really sure what that is all exactly. But I'm going to say that, yeah, Loki managed to convince Luffy, or they entered into an agreement that Luffy's gonna go and grab the key and he's gonna try to free Loki. I feel like that has to happen to further the plot along. No, the plot of Elbaph is Loki just stays chained to the tree. Luffy's like, nah, sorry man, I'm not helping you out. Then he leaves and we don't see Loki again for the rest of the arc. That would be, I'd be like, nope, sorry, I'm not doing it. I'm out of here. Right? No, Luffy, they made a deal on it. Luffy's gonna get the key and he's gonna try to free Loki. That's, I think, already set in stone here. And Luffy is actually, whatever that Loki promised him, he takes seriously, because this is not something that Luffy's just gonna blow off like, yeah, I went down in the Underworld and I saw a big guy chained to a tree. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Whatever. You met Loki? You know, no, this is something that Luffy is like, shit, can't lie. This is something that, no, I can't let them know that I met him. Okay. So, like, Luffy's a little nervous here and he can't really come up with an answer. And so Goldberg eventually is just like, okay, I mean, you don't have a panic attack or anything. I mean, you probably met something really scary down there. I mean, after all, it is the Underworld after all. It's fine, it's fine. You're good, you're fine. I'm not going to push you anymore. Also, I'm imagining Goldberg is feeling a little bit of guilt and responsibility because it was Road, a member of their crew, that captured them and threw them in the city, and how this must look right now, especially with him hoisting their ship above his head. So Goldberg's like, oh, okay, I didn't mean to, it's fine, it's cool, don't worry about it. Let's just go find the other members of your crew. And it's like, cool. Okay, so now we cut to the Sun Realm of Elbaph to see what is up with Nami's group, okay? So Dory and Broggy go over this later. There's 3 different levels of Elbaph. There's the Underworld, the Sun level, and the Heaven level. And this level is like right here where that like fortress was, like right in the middle, the first tier going up the tree. We'll go over the exact particulars and the kanji that are used when we get to Dory and Broggy's scene. But this is the scene. We have the big forest. It's a green forest. It's no longer in the mountainous region. It's not cold and snowy anymore. And we hear Road screaming loudly. He's like, I have finally found you, my living dolls. And we see Nami and Chopper there, and Road has the creepiest face as he's like jumping out of the trees to grab Nami and Chopper. And then at that exact moment, he bonks his head on a felled tree. So what from I can understand here, Zoro sliced a tree down like this, and then Road didn't even really see the thing, and he bonked his head right into it. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if it's like Zoro cut down the tree at the exact same time Road was reaching for Nami, and then that hit him on the head, or Road was so dumb that he didn't see the obvious tree in front of him, and he conked his head on that thing. Because immediately afterwards, it's Nami, immediately afterwards is like, there is no way that trap worked on him. That was so dumb, a wild animal would be able to see that coming, alright? So it makes me think almost that, like, Zoro cut the tree down first, and then Road was just like, I got you, and then conked his head, and So at any rate, they managed to, hit Road. The reason they're not attacking him directly is, I guess they're afraid of, like, hey, we don't want to, like, injure the giant directly or kill him, because that might look bad if it's, like, a giant as part of, like, Hiruden's crew or Dorian Bragi's crew. So I guess that's the reason. I mean, the dude kidnapped you and threw you in his weird Lego city. I think if you mess him up a little bit, like, you don't have to kill him, although, you can bang him up a little bit, and I don't think anybody's gonna be upset over that. Like, hey, what did you do to Road? It's like, he kidnapped us and dressed us up in clothing, not even going to begin with the implications there, and then threw into the city, so we beat the shit out of him. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, that makes sense. But at either rate, they wanted to, like, indirectly injure him, so that's what they did. That was the plan, alright? So, Road is kind of, like, stunned for a moment. Sanji's like, alright, well, that's taken care of. Can we get going? I really want to see that giant kingdom now. So, Road is not unconscious. He's still there. He's just like, you damn humans. At this point, we have Gerd and Goldberg, Piper, who's the owl, and then we have Luffy arriving from behind. Goldberg still carrying the Sunny. Okay, so they're running from behind, and just like, oh, look, there's Road and everybody, right? And then as Road is still, like, on the ground, like, oh, that hurts. Gerd and Goldberg take out their weapons and do, like, an Elbaph, like, Hakako! Up Road's ass, I guess. I guess they're hitting him on the back, because he's, like, laying flat on the ground. So I guess they're either hitting him on the ass, like, really hard, or they're smacking him down on the back. Either way, another hilarious face that Oda really outdid himself on this one, as, Road's face, he just gets hit. And I mean, Gerd is using an axe, and Goldberg is using a spiked club. Now, you could argue maybe Gerd was using the blunt end of her axe, because despite everything, she's not trying to kill Road. But Goldberg is taking a club. There's no, like, part of the it's like Kaido's Kanabo. There's no part of that that's gonna hurt less, okay? So they just smack into Road pretty damn hard with a combo move. And that is definitely what Road has deserved for everything he's done and put the Straw Hats through up until now, okay? So that was really cathartic to see that finally. Even though, once again, Sanji, Zoro, they could have curb stomped Road at any point during that. Usopp could have shot a skull bomb thing in his face, up his nose, like they could have been fine, right? Sanji obviously loses himself over seeing Gerd. We can see where that is going. And then Zoro is just like, hey, see, there we go. Now there's no proof that we attacked that giant because they clearly attacked him. So we're off the hook. We're good. We're not going to giant prison. Anyway, Luffy's there. He's like, oh, hey, guys, how you doing? He's like, oh, Luffy, good. We didn't have to go after you. You just ended up coming back on your own. That's fantastic. Great. So Gerd goes over. Road is unconscious at this point. He's on the ground with a giant whelp on his head being like, oh, So Gerd goes over and just like, oh, hello there. Oh my God, you're such a tiny bunch of human pirates. That's great. My name's Gerd. This is, I'm part of Hiruden's crew, so you know Hiruden, right? Oh my God, this is great. We'll be escorting you from here. Do not worry. I know you've had a bunch of horrible experiences with that horrible son of a bitch navigator that we have, but don't worry. Everything's fine now that you're with us. Just like, I don't know. Now, obviously, Sanji has no problems with this. Obviously, Sanji's like, whoa, giant woman! Just you can escort me anywhere you'd like, Gerd. But once again, the way that Gerd is just so elaborate with, like, everything's cool, everything's fine. I like humans, but not in the way that Road did. It'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, this is still, like, yeah. So anyway, Luffy and Usopp and Chopper immediately make a break for it. They start booking it in a random direction because they're like, yeah, let's go, Usopp. Elbaph Village, it's somewhere here. We're gonna see it. Let's go. Gerd is like, yeah, okay, just keep going that way. If you go cut through the forest, you'll come to some island cloud you can jump on, and then you should be able to see the village from there, okay? Gerd is having a fantastic day right now. Okay, so then, yeah, I mean, like, I guess that's what's happening. Okay. She picks up Zoro, Sanji, and Nami and sets them down on her cleavage. that's what this scene is. I mean, I guess. She's not holding them in her hands. She picked them up and just like, okay, guys, we're just gonna set you down right there. Okay, that's a good shelf. All right, onward we go. Just like... Zoro just grabs onto like part of her shirt, like, okay. Nami's right in the center, like, oh, okay, this is nice, this is comfy, this is soft. And then Sanji, of course, is just losing himself. He's just like, I'm in heaven, you know, okay. So those are one types of bouncy type of cloud, and then Luffy is on another kind of bouncy type of cloud, okay? So this is really funny. So Usopp, Chopper, and Luffy are running off a cliff, and they see cloud underneath it. Now, Gerd did mention island cloud, but Luffy doesn't even check. He just jumps off a cliff and lands on the cloud. And he bounces, just like they did in Skypiea in the White Sea. And he's like, oh, hey, yeah, guys, they're island cloud, just like in Skypiea, everything's good. And then that's when Usopp is like, what would you have done if it wasn't island cloud? You would have fallen straight through back to the Underworld. We would have had to do all this shit over again. And Luffy's just like, it's fine. She said we could get on him. It's like, yeah, but you should check for, whatever. And they jump on the island cloud. And at this point, we cut back over to the Rainbow Bridge as the two ships are very closely nearing the sun level. This is when Broggy explains Elbaph has 3 levels. We have a Heaven Realm, Sun Realm, and Underworld Realm. So, hold on, I have a little sheet here where I wrote the kanji. All right, so the Underworld is the kanji Mei. All right, and it means darkness, gloomy, underworld. Like Underworld, Hades, that is an actual definition of this kanji, all right? Then Yo, which means sun. Not in the same, because like Taiyo would be sun in Japanese as well, but this version is more of like positivity, in like from yin and yang. This would be the yang half, you know, light, bright, positivity, that kind of stuff. That's where this kanji is taken from. And then the Heaven Realm is the kanji for 10, you know, which is heaven, sky, celestial, like that kind of idea, right? So, we know the Underworld Realm pretty well at this point. We know, well, we see the Sun Realm here. We have yet to see the Heaven Realm. I'm thinking the Heaven Realm is a sacred place that not every giant can just go to. I'm assuming it's a place that you can, you know, like maybe only select few can go up there for certain reasons. Maybe that's where the king of all Elbaph, like that is where Harold's castle would have been. Maybe we'll see something like that. Also, I mean, I know we're going strongly from Norse mythology here, but, you know, just like you have the middle realm, which represents like the earth, and then you have the underworld realm, which could be hell, and then you have the heaven realm, which could be heaven. You know, there's references there to that, I'm sure. You know, I'm also getting references to Dante's Inferno here even, not like overtly, but just it's reminding me of like the different levels that you go up whenever it's divided in this way. I'm always thinking about Dante's Inferno, or I guess Purgatorio or Paradiso, you know, that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, we got 3 realms, not super complicated here, and I'm sure you can also go inside the tree. I'm still not completely throwing that out there. And maybe the roots, because there is stuff in Norse mythology about like Nidhogg that chews on the roots, so going down there might also be an option as well at some point. So, you know, that's what we got here. Dory states there are many villages on this level. This is the Sun Realm. You won't even be able to see all of it in one go, but we are heading to our village right now. And we get another double-page spread. Guys, can we go to Sweden? Come on, I want to go to Sweden. I don't know why I'm likening this magical wonderland to Sweden. You know, there's other Nordic countries, but I'm going with Sweden on this one. I just really want to visit Sweden. It is on my list of places to go, right? Okay, so are there any anime conventions in Sweden? I don't know, I could go there. So we see this. It is a beautiful, beautiful village. Part of it is on ground, part of it is built on island cloud that's floating. We got bridges, we got waterfalls, we got another rainbow in the distance. We got trees coming out of the tree, which I guess are just branches of the tree, whatever. We got a giant castle built into the side of a branch. So like tree and castle is like one thing here. The architecture of this city, of this village, is very similar to the architecture when we saw Big Mom's flashback. I do not think it's the same village, because it didn't look quite like this in Big Mom's flashback. It was a little bit more plain compared to this, because this is like built out of partly, like it's floating on the sky and shit like that, right? So I think it's a different village from that one, although maybe it could be the same. We only saw a certain part of it in Big Mom's flashback. Actually, speaking of, do you think the Lamb's house is still here? Or do you think that burned down? I think that just burned down with the city when the Semla incident happened and they had to rebuild. And I don't think they would have rebuilt the Lamb's house. They cared about Mother Caramel, but considering, the whole nature of Big Mom killing, Fallbeard and everything like that, I'm assuming they just never rebuilt the Lamb's house and, Mother Caramel built it somewhere else, right? Well, at any rate, so village, bunch of houses, and we see a big castle gate that, when open, leads to a big staircase going up one of the branches of Yggdrasil, of Adam. And then we have a castle built into the side of that. So this place looks cool. And this is just one village. This is just one village. Dory even mentioned there's way more. You won't be able to see all of them in one go, but this is just one of them. This is our homeland, right? So we see a flashback between Luffy and Usopp, like, sharing that moment together where they remember cheering about Elbaph, Elbaph, the Viking giant life for me, like, they're gonna go to this place, and they finally made it here. Luffy has an expression of just childlike wonder, of just like, this is a dream realm they have wandered into, and he's just like taking it all in. Usopp is bawling his eyes out. He's so happy. You understand, this is the place where Usopp is probably going to realize his dream of being a great warrior of the sea, because you can't be more of a noble, courageous warrior of the sea than being acknowledged by giants. So that might very well happen in this arc, where Usopp realizes, I am a brave warrior of the sea. My dream, I've attained it here on Elbaph. This could be the place, right? We see shots of Robin, Chopper, Frankie, Zoro, Bonnie, Jinbei, Nami, Brooke, Lilith, and Sanji just not even really looking at anything. Sanji's just living it up and just like cuddling into Gerd's boobs. That's where Sanji is at right now. So this is heaven for him, basically. Okay, so as the ships are coming off of the Rainbow Bridge, off of the Bifrost, the island cloud that Luffy and everybody jumped on, Gerd is now there too, is right here. So it's like their ships are coming up. It's like, hey guys, how you doing? Oh, we're good. Yeah, it's great. Cool. Everybody made it. So everybody manages to link back up in this chapter. Good job, Oda. Good job. So there's some narration that's going on. I'm going to cut to that at the end. We're just going to get through their dialogue first. So upon seeing, the ship, they notice the ship first, and then they realize they are sailing on a rainbow bridge, at which point Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper, the tongues all stretch out like, what? How are you sailing on a rainbow? It's like, hey, if you stayed with us, you would have been on the rainbow. It's like, we didn't have a choice. We were kidnapped. It's like, okay, good point. Yeah, but we could ride on the rainbow later. Luffy's got to ride on that rainbow at some point, you know what I mean? All right. So, last shot of the chapter before I get to the narration. We have a scene, I'm assuming it is still in the sunlit realm of Elbaph, where we see a cloaked figure wearing a hat walking through the woods. I'm going to say it's Shiki. I mean, come on. Did you see all the animals down there that are taken right from Strong World? There's no way that Oda is drawing all these Strong World animals and is like, you know what? I'm not going to include Shiki here. This place also has a lot of similarities to Merville from the movie, so it's Shiki. I'm just going with Shiki. Mysterious, shadowy figure. It's going to be Shiki. Okay, great. Now, the narration. Because as soon as the Straw Hats reach this village, we get the little scrolls at the bottom of the panels. And these are the writings of a certain adventurer, of a certain explorer that we have heard of before. This is Louis Arnault. Remember Louis? I remember Louis. Distant cousin of Louis Leclerc. Anyway, Louis Arnault, right? He was one of the authors. I don't know, I think he might have been the sole author of Bragman. But Bragman is, I think, a compilation of different adventuring tales of people basically going into the Grand Line, seeing a bunch of crazy shit, writing a book about it, and then everybody else in the Four Blues that has never been to the Grand Line is gonna think that this is just like fairy tale shit, right? Like, oh, a giant goldfish, this is ridiculous. Island of Giants, this is ridiculous. Because the people are living in the Four Blues. They don't see the Grand Line, right? So, Louis Arnault says, everything in Elbaph is massive, right? The immense size is truly a moving sight. How could you even put this into words? And you know what? I feel that, because I'm looking at this right now, and unless I show this to you, which I'm not going to because, I don't know how Shueisha is about that, but unless you see it for yourself, you really can't feel the size and breadth of this. I didn't even notice it until now, but there are giants walking around in the city as well. There's a little picnic area. There's some giant birds flying around. It's so cool. You can't really put it into words. This is Warland Kingdom, located on Elbaph Island. So the name of the island is Elbaph Island. However, colloquially, everybody just refers to it as Elbaph. So some people have said, well, maybe the island is called Warland, or the kingdom is the Warland Kingdom. It's all Elbaph. Just call it Elbaph. But it's the Elbaph Island Warland Kingdom. The whole thing is called Elbaph, right? So, Elbaph, Kingdom of the Giants, the grass and trees, the vines and the flowers, the insects, the fish, the birds, and all the animals, all of them breathtakingly giant and massive. Adventurers that come here do not regret in the slightest stepping foot on this land. However, in regards to this mysterious land called Elbaph, I have just one thing to write down here, and I want you to always keep these words in your heart. Do not linger in this land for long. Louis Arnault, Adventurer. And that's the end of the chapter. Well, shit. I was thinking this arc was going to go on for a little while. I thought we were going to get like an 80 chapter arc minimum, but hey, Louis already said, he's like, hey, you can't stay here for that long. Quick 20 chapter adventure in and out. We already blew 5 chapters on the Lego City, so let's keep moving. Come on, we only have 15 chapters left. Let's go. Loki, get freed. Oh, okay, he's free. Great. Armageddon. You know, it's Ragnarok. Okay, awesome. Let's go. Let's rock and roll. No. I don't know. Maybe that will be the case. Maybe the arc won't be that long because this is stated here. I don't know. I'm really glad that Oda brought back Louis Arnault. It's one of those tiebacks from the older, chapters of One Piece. This is like well over 20 years ago, right? So a little bit more about Bragman. So, I'm assuming a lot of the stuff in Bragman covers a lot of the stuff the Straw Hats has seen on the Grand Line already. It's an anthology of adventures and a collection of, like, explorer's notes and things like that. So, the one time it was relevant was when the Straw Hats first arrived in the Grand Line. I mean, they got to Cactus Island, where Whiskey Peak was, and I mean, that island wasn't really all that crazy. I mean, it was shaped like a cactus because it was made out of a bunch of, like, gravestones, so that was weird and creepy. But the first island they really came to in the Grand Line that was, like, crazy was Little Garden, because it was a prehistoric jungle filled with dinosaurs, right? Okay, that was pretty nuts. And so this is the first time Nami is seeing anything like this, and so she immediately goes and looks at the book, and it's Bragman, and Louis Arnault talks about an island called Little Garden, which to them, the giants there, Dory and Bragi, to them it might as well be a little garden, right? But it was this massive jungle where dinosaurs reigned, okay? So we see Bragman at O'Hara when O'Hara was burning down, so that means the book had to have at least been published over 22 years ago, and Louis Arnault had to have been there after Dory and Bragi began their fight, because he mentions them, alright? I'm assuming Bragman was written maybe 70, 80 years ago, something like that, so that Dory and Bragi would have been fighting, Louis arrives there. Also, Dory and Bragi mentioned that most people that end up on Little Garden end up dying. In fact, the only person that left, because it takes a year for the log to reset there, most humans would die waiting for it to reset. Although Dory and Bragi did mention there was one dude that did leave before the log was reset, but they had no idea what happened to him because they were still on the island, right? So that person was most likely Louis. Nothing else it could really be. I mean, he had to stay alive to write the book and get it published, right? And eventually he made it to Elbaph. He made it all the way to Elbaph. Same thing with the Straw Hats. You know, it's like he sees Dory and Bragi on Little Garden. He's like, this is cool. I want to go to Elbaph. I want to go to the homeland of the giants. So Louis Arnault, by the way, Louis Arnault should not be overlooked here as just some insignificant adventurer. The dude made it all the way from the beginning of the Grand Line around the world into the New World, all the way to Elbaph. Louis Arnault was ripped. Louis Arnault was a Chad. It's like Noland, you know? We see Noland as this goofy guy in a storybook, and then eventually we see Noland, and he's jacked, man. You know, it's like, that's gonna be Louis Arnault. He's gonna have these peaks. He's gonna walk out like freaking Major Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist and just be like, yeah, I'm Louis Arnault, adventurer extraordinaire, yeah. Check out these muscles. Now that's going to be Louis, right? And yeah, the reason why you shouldn't linger too long in Elbaph, it might be you never want to leave. It might be like an island that you just want to stay there forever, or if you stay there for too long, something might actually happen to you. I don't think it's going to be anything like the giants are going to kill you or anything, because if you're friendly, it's fine. But it might have something to do with the sun god. It might have something to do with, something else in Elbaph mythology or something. There are, stories and things like don't linger in the magical Fey forest for too long, or you'll turn into a mushroom or some shit like that, right? I'm not saying it'll be exactly like that, but maybe Louis Arnaud is just basically saying like, hey, if you linger too long here, you're eventually gonna die. What if there's like a poisonous fungus on the island the giants are immune to, but it's really super toxic to humans, and this is where Louis died, and he's writing this on his deathbed right now. He's like, just letting you know, do not linger in this land for long. Okay, I'm gonna die now. Make sure this gets published. All right, later, Louis out. Maybe, who knows? A lot of crazy diseases. Roger had a crazy disease. Whitebeard had a crazy disease. I'm just saying, maybe this is where the crazy disease came from. Who knows, right? Anyway, that's the chapter review. Hope you all enjoyed. It's relatively late doing this, so I'm going to get this edited and get this up. Thanks for watching. Good to be back. Good to be back, everybody. Oda's feeling better. It was a little scary for a little bit, but he's good. Thanks for watching, everybody. Techig signing out. Later, all. Woo! Let's go to Sweden.